Coach Stoops has a new book out because he had some time on his hands. It's called No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach. And I had a chance to read a good portion of the book over the last several days and caught up with Coach Stoops on Tuesday. Coach, why did you decide to write a book with so much personal information about you, your family, and your life?
It's, I'm asked over and over through the years, how can I, become a head coach or a leader, or how did this happen for you? And it's really hard to explain to somebody in 5-minute conversation, And then I'm also asked, how did we turn around the culture of Oklahoma so fast? From, no championships for such a long period of time, and conference or national championships. And then all of a sudden in your second year, you turned it to where we go undefeated, win a national championship. And then from there, I'm asked all the time, how have you remained so consistent? How is Oklahoma from 2000 to now has won more games than anybody? And how did you keep it so consistent? So all of that, kind of the philosophies and what we tried to do through different periods of time, are kind of detailed in there. And plus I had the time to do it.
I tell you what, my favorite part of the book by far is chapter 1, where you talk about family and growing up in Youngstown, Ohio. I've already told my mom, who's also from the area, that she has to read that chapter because you guys speak the same language. How did growing up on the streets of Youngstown shape you as a football coach and as a person?
Yeah, it's a unique area and a unique part of the country. Steel mill town growing up, and in a highly producing steel mill town in my young years. And just the streets, the neighborhoods, we all, our gang of guys were all neighborhoods, and our street would go to the other street and play football, basketball, whatever it was. And it was just a fun area. You had to be tough and resourceful, and you better learn to fight a little bit, because all those things kind of happened. And but it was a great place to grow up. I mean, like I said, to this day, some of best friends, my dearest friends, are my neighborhood guys that knew you before you were anything, and you're still the same to them. And so there's a lot of fun stories that from the neighborhood, what we used to do.
You write about your dad and learning how to watch film from him, but he did it with a projector on the front of your refrigerator. And so you poke fun at technology a little bit. But, Coach, as you think back over the last couple of decades, how much has technology and our ability to use it changed the way we process sports?
Oh, geez, it's changed everything in the form of communication and what's true, what isn't, what's being told to people. So now there's instant communication everywhere. And, of course, back in those days, that was different. My father was watching 16 millimeter reel-to-reel film, trying to study games, where we pull it right up, on the way home from a game. We got it on our phones or on our iPad while we're flying home to look at it. And, even when I was a graduate assistant, we used to have to travel up to the airport to get the tape in the middle of the night from the team we're going to play the next day or the next week. So we would travel up to get their film that was sent on an airplane to be transported to us, so things are quite a bit different in today's world.
No doubt, Coach, there are many people listening who have no idea what a 16-millimeter projector is. Bob Stoops has a new book called No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach. Had some time on his hands after retiring from Oklahoma football, though he is now the new head coach of the Dallas Renegades. So I know you're on Twitter, not using it every day, but how do you like that element of social media?
I'm learning. I don't, believe me. Do I follow a lot, or no? Do I read what people respond to me? No. So anyone looking to throw the hate out there, it's not going to be read. But so anyway, there's sometimes I'm trying to, whatever. I want to be able to promote the XFL Renegades, the new team in Dallas that I'll be coaching, as well as my book right now. Some people are having some fun. And here and there. So, in fact, I just now retweeted something that a group of guys, there's 4 or 5 of them, met me in the stands at the Rose Bowl. We were just playing UCLA last week. Took a picture with me, and they were great. They said thanks, and we leave. And then an hour later, 2 hours later, I'm in a little joint in downtown Pasadena having a beer with my wife and some friends, and there they are again. So I met them twice in the same night. And I just saw they retweeted they got my book, or they tweeted they had my book, and thanks for the picture, Coach. So I sent them back something that was great to meet you guys twice. So I'm learning to do it a little bit.
Well, in case people are looking, at Coach Bob Stoops on Twitter. It's After Hours here on CBS Sports Radio. I read a column in which your wife was quoted the year after you retired, and she said game days were so difficult for you that you didn't know what to do with yourself. What do you miss about OU game days, Coach?
Well, it's funny. I describe it to everyone. The first year was really awful. The second year was just awful. And now I'm in my third year, and it's gotten a little better, but it's still bad. You miss everything about it. You miss the challenge of it, the competitiveness, and you miss the fight and the struggle of it, and getting ready for it. And you miss the camaraderie of the players. The tightness of all of you, all your coaches, all your players getting ready to play. There's a great intensity there that you love to feel. So you miss all of that, it's just, and then you try and figure out how to watch the game, and where to watch it from, and do people want to talk to you while it's going on, and I don't want to talk to anybody while I'm watching us play. So it's a lot to figure out.
I think I can understand. The title of your book is No Excuses. So, Coach, what does that mean to you when you say football is a no excuses game?
Well, you either win or you don't. You succeed or you don't. All an excuse does is try and justify failure. I mean, that's all whenever you bring one up, that's what you're doing. And believe me, there's a lot of good ones, but it still doesn't matter. You still lost or didn't win. It's something that I said when I was introduced as the head coach, right within the first 5 minutes of me speaking and being introduced, I said, this is a program that's won championships, competed for championships year in and year out. And there's no excuses for us not to do it here. And it was, I talked to the team about it all the time that, I don't want to hear there's a reason why we can't win. We're going to win. And it was plastered across our weight room for the first 15 years I was here. No excuses. I mean, big, bold letters right across, the weight room wall. So anyway, you got to find a way to succeed one way or another.
And it's not just a mantra. It makes a really cool name for a book as well. Coach Bob Stoops, longtime coach of Oklahoma football, with us here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. You talked about how you felt like it was okay to step away when you did a couple years ago because you were handing the Sooner football program to Lincoln Riley. How did you know that he would be successful in taking over as the head coach in your stead?
Well, just from working with them side by side for 2 years. I knew early on, really in the second half of his first year, that he had what it took to be a head coach, the leadership, the connection to the players, the poise, but also the toughness in the fight. He's incredibly competitive too. So he had what it took, and it did help me to make my decision, because I would never have wanted to leave Oklahoma in a bad position moving forward. So, when you've invested so much time and heart in developing this program, you sure don't want to see it go south at all. And I knew Lincoln would continue to push it forward.
I really think it's fascinating that Baker Mayfield ended up with the Cleveland Browns when your hometown of Youngstown, Ohio, is primarily Browns territory. And he has the challenge now of trying to turn this franchise around the same way that you faced a challenge at Oklahoma. You talk about a program that hadn't had championships in decades. So what's it like for you to watch him now with the Browns?
Yeah, there's a special connection, being that I grew up, an hour from Cleveland and always rooted for him. So definitely you follow him a little closer, and love what Baker's doing. He's a Cleveland kind of guy, no nonsense guy, but got all kind of talent and fight in him. So I think he's what they need. But no one does it at that level or at any level in football alone. So hopefully they'll continue to improve as a team. I believe they will. They've got great coaches with Coach Kitchens and the rest of them. So hopefully they'll just keep finding success as they keep moving forward.
I know you've answered the question over and over and over again, why leave Oklahoma when you did? Well, I want to know the opposite. Why go back to coaching? You've been introduced as the general manager and head coach of the Dallas Renegades in the XFL. So what drew you back into the coaching ranks?
Well, there's a number of reasons. Like I said, when I left, I had really just felt I had completed my mission, and I had run my race there at OU, and everything was positive, but I just felt it was the right time. For me personally, I wanted a little more of my own time and my own space. And, the old saying, be careful what you wish for, you might just get it. So after a couple of years of not being on the sideline, I've got a little too much time and space on my hands, and I believe in this league, and it's going to be exciting and fun. We got great leadership with our commissioner Oliver Luck and on through to the owner Vince McMahon, and there's a market for this league. You look at the last 5 guys cut from every NFL football team; those are some really good football players out there. Need a platform to play on. I believe people want to continue to watch football after the Super Bowl. Exciting and good football, and I believe we'll have that. We've got great TV in place already, contracts in place with national broadcasts on ESPN, ABC, and Fox. So anyway, it's setting up well. We've taken the time to do it right.
Well, congratulations on that new opportunity. That'll be fun in the XFL. Last thing before I let you go, it's not really a question. It's more of a memory. I was in Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma when the Sooners played Nebraska in 2000 on the way to the national championship. And I remember being up so high in the camera well at the very top of the stadium and watching that. It was really my introduction to big-time college football, something that I will absolutely never forget.
I talk about it in the book that it's probably my favorite game. Of all, just because that was when we really arrived. We had just beaten number 1 Nebraska, at home in a big fashion, 31-14. And, we come from behind. They scored on the first 2 drives, 14-0. So everybody outside of us is doubting whether we're really for real. And we rattle off 31 unanswered points. And of course, everybody storms the field. This field hadn't been stormed probably in 20 years ahead of that. And here it is 20 years later, and it hadn't been stormed again. But fans stormed the field, jumping on everybody, tearing down the goalposts. And, it was a special moment because we were back, after all those years of being away.
It's one of my favorite sports memories of all time. Such an incredible atmosphere. The book is called No Excuses, The Making of a Head Coach, Bob Stoops and Gene Wojciechowski. And it's a really great read. I've enjoyed it. And it's been great to talk to you again. Coach, thank you so much for a couple of minutes.
Great to visit with you once again, and all the best of luck going forward.